Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got a question that's not directly related, but it's about natural theology.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it. Would the result of the fact that in that system you can never directly know God not be that you can't even actually have access to truth in the end?
I think so. I mean, that's Palamas's argument against Barlaam, is that it would lead to atheism. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not just there's no grace, or you don't have access to God's grace or mercy.
It would, if you were consistent. If you were consistent, it would lead to the Enlightenment guys' conclusions. And in fact, when you read the Enlightenment guys, like for example John Locke, when he critiques the sort of medieval Thomistic view, he actually makes this argument. He says that we really can't know the transcendent or truth itself. We're really only knowing what what presents itself to our senses. And he actually discusses things like the medieval view of modal collapse and divine simplicity, right? So I think you could actually even show that in the Enlightenment philosophers that touch on the classical arguments from Aquinas and others, they're actually taking it to a more consistent step and saying, well, you know what, if we can't actually know God himself, then all of these transcendent principles also go out the window.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it destroys the whole epistemology of the whole system.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's
Absolutely.
no way that you'd be able to reason up to God if
yeah, I have an old essay where I
can't even access truth at all.
Yeah, I have an old essay where I critiqued. There's a contradiction in Aquinas on this, because he says even natural revelation, or excuse me, natural theology, the principles that you know of natural theology, Aquinas thinks are actually grounded in the divine mind. But you don't have access to the divine mind because that's the divine essence. So even the thing that he grounds universals and natural theology in is something that you don't have access to and can't ground.
Exactly. So you're supposed to be able to reason up, but you can't ground the cogito or whatever, because how are you supposed to know truth anyway in the first place to ground your
right? So
foundations
in Aquinas he accepts the Aristotelian dictum of the peripatetic axiom. There's nothing in the intellect that is not first in the senses. And so people like David Hume just simply take that to its logical conclusions and say things like, yeah, and teleology is not in my senses. The cosmological argument is not in my senses. The peripatetic axiom itself is not in sense data, so therefore it's self-refuting.
Yeah. Also, I mean, yeah, you need to. I mean, the source of truth. God is supposed to be the source of truth in their system. Also, I'm sure, obviously. So, I mean, how do you have the peripatetic axiom? I mean, how do you just?
Well, they believe in a foundationalist epistemology, as you saw from the Trent Horn debate. They say it's just true, it's just self-evident, just is. Oh, okay, then my position just is. And by the way, when you say something just is what?
Yeah, but how can you? It's circular, obviously, isn't it? Because you
yeah,
need to,
exactly. And Trent said, yeah, sure, I'm fine with that.
You need to start with the peripatetic axiom, but then that leads you to the result of proving God, supposedly, but and then you reason that all truth. We claim that all truth is from God.
Well, they don't believe.
You didn't start with the belief of God. You believe this. You start with the peripatetic axiom, as you said.
Right, but keep in mind when Aquinas says proving God, he doesn't mean it in the sense of absolute proof. He believes it in the sense of a high degree of probability. So he thinks that he's an evidentialist. So he doesn't actually believe that God's existence is proven, because that's an element of faith, right?
But then, so you can't prove God, but God is the source of truth. So I mean, so you can't really be confident that you have any truth ever at all.
Yeah, I mean, that's why
you're not going to be 100%. It's just going to be probable in any case.
Well, because it's a theological idea, right? And theological ideas have a degree of leap of faith to them. So first principles are absolutely certain, and those are science. Those are the things of like, Aristotelian logic and, natural theology. That's first principles. Then you build on top of that, when you establish your first principles, supernatural truths which build on that, which are things like the Trinity and the Incarnation. But the doctrines of the Trinity and Incarnation are not as foundational and certain as the doctrines of first principles.
Right, but if God is the source of truth, then surely
they just have it backwards. Yeah.
Yeah, the peripatetic axiom would need to come from God also, but then they say that it's prior to the reasoning up to God. So
correct.
It's just obviously inconsistent there.
Correct. Yeah, good question.
Okay, thanks, that's all. Cheers.